Oh my gosh, every time I leave Dubai and then I come back, I feel like my love for it gets stronger and stronger. I don't care what's going on in the world. I mean, I do care, but I don't care what you think about Dubai. I still love living here. Just gonna say it. Whether it's a bit quiet, whether there's a bit of uncertainty going on, when I come back, I feel more at home here than I do anywhere else. I've just been in New York for a week. Before that, we was in LA for a couple of months. We've been to France, been to the UK, and it's been a very hectic schedule. And I've got a few weeks here back home in Dubai, and I'm excited just to lock in and get some routine, honestly. But the other day I was at dinner with my New York model agent and Becky, my other half, and over dinner we was talking about some things, family stuff, personal stuff. I won't bore you with the details, but I'm not sure what happened. I came away from that conversation with so much clarity and almost like I'd stepped into a new chapter. Now, one of the things we'd spoken about was something I've been holding on to for going on over a year. Something personal to me, which on an emotional level, I just couldn't quite let go of. It was something to do with my childhood, something to do with my family, and something to do with, I guess, the unconscious beliefs I was holding and how those unconscious beliefs create a lens between you and reality. Now, that sounds a bit complicated, but what I'm basically saying is the way I was seeing the world before was distorted, and I couldn't see that it was distorted. And that belief I'm talking about was essentially that I'm not worth being unconditionally loved. I grew up in a very unstable household. I'm one of several siblings and didn't know my dad growing up, and found it very difficult to receive that unconditional love from my mum. She has her own problems, she has her own issues, me and her don't speak, but that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is that I grew up in that environment and it was normal for me. In fact, I thought it was just the standard that any form of love which I felt like I needed, I essentially had to perform in order to receive it. I had to be a role, be a character. And this massively shaped the way that I showed up in the real world, in relationships, in friendships, for many, 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 many years later. And even though I knew this consciously, I couldn't seem to let go of it emotionally. So in relationships, this looked like me performing as the character who was worthy of being loved, rather than just being myself, because I was so scared of revealing who I really was in case I got rejected or I was proven right that I was not worth loving, essentially. So I would do all of the romantic gestures. I'd be the character that I felt like I saw in films growing up, the knight in shining armor. I tried to save everybody. I would pay for everything. I'd provide. I'd be the classic archetype man who I'd learned was the most optimal to receive the love that I thought that I needed. Even when I met Becky, like the first date I asked her on, I invited her to Paris. And it sounds romantic, and it was kind of romantic, but part of that gesture was rooted in fear, right? It was rooted in me being too scared to just be myself and potentially be rejected, and instead being this romantic character that I had learned was the best, I guess, version of me in order to get what I needed. And in friendships, this looked like me finding it really, really hard to receive help. Again, I didn't know from my childhood that it was okay just to receive help, because that's a form of love, it's a form of care, it's a form of support. I'd learned that receiving some kind of help was always transactional. It was always, I don't know, there was always some kind of hidden agenda. And so I would rather refuse help, even though I desperately needed it, than to accept it and risk having that feeling, that wound exposed. Now it's funny because this led to me basically ending up with no friends. Like, reaching out and helping friends is one of the most loving things you can do. But I always refused that help. I always found it really hard to accept that help. And so I ended up with basically no friends. I'd rejected everybody when they tried to just love and support me. This isn't a good trait. I'm not bigging myself up here. But that's how it showed up for me in relationships and in friendships. And so I was at dinner the other night with my agent Mike and Becky, my other half, and we were speaking through some of the patterns I had experienced growing up, to do with my mum, to do with my dad, and how that affected me and how it shaped me. And I left that conversation feeling so lifted, feeling so liberated, feeling free enough, I guess, to make this video right now. And I wasn't quite sure why at first. Like, I'd had these conversations countless times, let me just add. I'd had this conversation with Becky, I'd had this conversation with other people on some level several times in the past. But it wasn't until the other night when I was having dinner in New York where something just shifted. I said the same things I'd always said, I told the same stories I'd always told, and quite frankly, I'd received the same advice I'd constantly received from Becky and other people. But something just shifted, and I've been racking my brains ever since to figure out what that difference was, what the shift was. Why did I suddenly feel a bit clearer and a bit lighter? And I came to the realization, actually, that it was to do with my environment. It was to do with the fact that, yes, I'd been having the same conversations, yes, I'd been saying the same things, but taken out of my usual environment, i.e. sitting in Dubai, sat on the sofa with Becky, talking it over, thinking it through, pulling my hair out, racking my brains, blaming myself. Why am I like this? How do I fix it? What do I do to be better? Obsessing over self-optimization, reading self-help books, listening to the same podcast I'd always listened to. Instead of doing all that usual stuff I'd been doing for months, if not years, I was taken out of my environment completely. I was in a brand new city, in New York for the first time ever, which I fucking loved, by the way. I'm in a brand new restaurant I've never seen before, and something about that new environment just opened up new possibilities. It just helped me feel like, I guess I could reinvent myself there and then on the spot. I wasn't clouded with that same judgment, those same stories, those same, I guess, fixed in place, narratives. And yeah, something about the new space, the new environment just helped me, I guess, feel differently about the same advice, about the same person with the same story. Like, isn't that mad? And so, even though nothing's really changed, in a weird kind of way, like, so much has changed. Just because I am interpreting that information through the new lens. I don't have that clouded lens anymore. Like, I can look at myself in the mirror and say, maybe I do deserve to be unconditionally loved. I'm being shown it here in this restaurant, in this conversation. I've got Becky next to me, my agent in front of me, who, by the way, my agent has just worked his absolute butt off, doing all kinds of madness, working for me, providing for me, connecting things up for me over this past week. And typically I would have found that really hard to accept. Typically I'd find it really hard to hear from Becky things like, we love you just the way that you are. You don't need to be anything but yourself. I'd find it hard to receive those kind of things. I don't know why. I still find it so hard, even though logically, rationally, I can explain it to you like I just did in this video. But the truth is that when you take yourself out of your environment and go somewhere new, ideally having some kind of fun along the way, like, fucking hell, I love eating out in restaurants. I love trying new places. I love seeing new stuff. We went to this Italian restaurant. I got this beef bolognese with, is it tortellini? Not tortellini. What's the one that's like flat spaghetti? Oh, it's gonna bug me. Leave it in the comments. Which pasta am I thinking of? It's not spaghetti, it's not linguine. It's like, why am I doing this? It's like spaghetti, but it's flat. I forgot the name of it. I can think of every other pasta name except this one. Oh, God knows. Leave it in the comments. Which pasta am I thinking of? Anyway, something about me just being in that headspace, being in that new, novel environment, just helped me see things differently. And I guess the reason why I felt compelled to make this video is because I know I'm not alone. I know I'm not the only person on planet Earth to have these lenses, preconceived ideas about themselves or about the world that affects how they show up. And even though you're smart enough to know it rationally, you've intellectualized it, maybe you've been to therapy like I have, you have these conversations openly, but when it comes to actual real world practicing it, you still find it hard, right? I know I'm not alone, and I know you know what I'm talking about. And so I felt compelled to share this video because something genuinely shifted in me after that conversation in New York the other night. And I think the secret was getting out of your usual environment, getting out of your day-to-day. If you're having the same chats with the same people in the same office, or you're thinking about the same things and then reading the same self-help books, listening to the same podcasts, but then nothing's changing, like, my friend, something isn't working and something needs to change. And it seems obvious now. It seems obvious now I'm saying all this out loud. But one of the biggest unlocks for me was just being in a new place. And by the way, you don't have to go to New York to do this. You don't have to go to the other side of the world necessarily. You just have to be somewhere new and novel, somewhere where you can relax. And ideally, you've been doing things in the hours or days or weeks leading up to it that feel a bit more fun, that feel a bit more like play, feel a bit more like how you felt when you was a kid. I'm a firm believer in the idea that when you're in that childlike state, you can access the most amount of clarity. You can access the most amount of creativity, the most amount of problem-solving capacity. Like, it's all ready for you, as long as you're prepared to just sit in that childlike state. And that's something that I experienced the night at dinner. Like, it wasn't a tough conversation necessarily. We was in stitches most of the night. We was laughing our heads off. But then something unlocked on a real deep emotional level. And that is what I want to share with you in today's video. If you're going through something like I went through, you're questioning things, you have these kind of limiting beliefs that sort of hold you back, and you're smart enough to say them out loud, but you're not smart enough to figure out how to fix them, that's my piece of advice for you. Go take yourself out of your usual day-to-day rhythm, cadence, environment. Mix it up, go somewhere different, book a weekend away, go to a new restaurant, book that paddle court, go and do something which makes you feel like a kid again, and then have a conversation with somebody that you can trust. Maybe walk around and just speak into your voice memos app and just brain dump. I do that sometimes, it's very fucking helpful. And just see how much more clarity you can bring to that very same situation. I hope you found this video useful. Maybe you just found it completely waffly and worthless. But I hope genuinely, if you're anything like me, that you find some value in this piece of advice. Go somewhere different, try relax a little bit, return to that childlike self, and watch the magic unfold. I hope you found this video useful. Leave a comment below, let me know what resonated. Let me know what pastor I was thinking of, because I, for the life of me, cannot remember. And I will see you in the next video.